Hey up lads and lasses, Danfire here, back again with another review for you today. So sit back, relax, and we're going to dive into Ronin the Last Samurai. An epic sword fight experience where every moment determines life or death. Elegantly portrayed in an ink and wash painting style, play as the last samurai of a war-ravaged era in which he lost the lord he served. In order to avenge the lord's death, you must level up, unlock new abilities, collect various equipment, and constantly strive to become stronger. Do not forget, the path of revenge is very perilous and painful, and when you die, the only way is to start from the beginning. Only a true samurai who understands the way of the sword by cutting down countless enemies will survive to the end and finally leave his name in history. So let's jump into the settings. So here we've got the ability to mute the music and the sound effects. I don't know why you would though, they're really cool in this game. I really like them, definitely working really well with the game. You can change the language, there's a few languages here, so plenty of different languages options, which is quite nice. You can play this, I'm guessing this is available all over the world, like some of the mobile games. And you can switch the buttons for your attack and defense. It's only 2 buttons really needed in this game. There is a third one, but we'll go into that a little bit later on. And yeah, not bad, I guess, for a mobile game, but yeah, it'll do. One of my favourite features of this game are the graphics, and they look really good. I love this ink wash style. It just looks really good. It works really well with the combat as well. It gives like a really nice fluid sort of motion to the combat system, which it's quite simple, but it's extremely effective. Again, just quickly on the audio, because I sort of mentioned a little bit earlier, audio is fantastic. There's very Japanese Edo style sound, and the combat sounds themselves as well. When you're parrying and attacking, they've got like nice meaty parries, and that also works really well, gets you quite situated within the game, and yeah, fantastic. So the core elements of the gameplay is a roguelite, I think they are called, not roguelike, but roguelite, where the protagonist that you are playing, whenever he dies, he restarts from the start of that chapter, and you have to go through that chapter until you complete it to get onto the next chapter. To do so, you've got your 2 little buttons, attack and defend. Defend, you can hold it down to just block. You can't block heavy attacks, and you can parry if you time the block at the right time, just before the enemy hits you. This does a certain amount of damage to their stamina, knocking the stamina all the way up to 100, stuns them for an amount of time, allowing you to get some free attacks and stuff like that. So it's very important to get the parrying down where you can. On heavy attacks that the enemy deal, you have a counter flash. This is where you tap your attack button just before the enemy's heavy attack lands, and you will counter flash, which will deal damage to the enemy and stamina damage. So also quite a very important feature here within the combat, and this will make or break your ability to sort of get through the game easily. It's very reaction based. If you haven't got good reactions, it's a good way to practice, and if not, and you have got good reactions, you'll find this game quite rewarding. Again, the way that they've done the system with the audio and everything involved, it just sounds really rewarding when you get those parries off at the right time and you get your counter flashes off. It's very stylized in the combat when you get these off. There are also abilities, so there are 3 types of weapons at the moment. You have a standard samurai katana that has the ability to counter dash for a few seconds. I think you get 4 or 5 counter flashes off within the time. I don't know if this is upgraded by abilities. This is quite an interesting way to build a character that I've been playing around with, where I have all my abilities going into counter flash to try and increase its damage. So when I pop that ability, it does massive amounts of damage. As you progress, you get little levels as well. So for killing enemies, they drop this blue stuff, you gather that blue stuff, that'll give you a level. And like other roguelites, that gives you a choice of 3 buffs you can have for the rest of that chapter playthrough until you die. That does get reset, but you can pick up things like 50% increased counter flash damage, increased posture damage, just flat out 15% increased attack damage as well. You can attack normally in this game, so you can try and get little hits in between enemy combos if you're feeling up for it. I find this personally quite difficult to do in some situations. Certain enemies are quite fast, and getting the little hits in sometimes just gets me killed, but there we go, I'm crap at these type of games. So as you progress and you are killing enemies, they have chances of dropping items. These items can be equipped. They vary from rings and amulets to armor and weapons. Like I said earlier, there is 3 types of weapons. So you have the pretty standard katana. It's sort of middle of the road, fast, medium attacks, medium attack damage, and it has that counter dash move. You then have moon blades or crescent moon blades, which I believe are called an Odachi, I believe. I think that's the right one. Someone correct me in the comments if I got that wrong, but I think they're called Odachis. And they are slow, heavy-hitting attacks. Their ability is big sweeping attacks that seem to spam the entire screen, being able to deal with multiple enemies at once, which is really quite nice. But again, slow attack speed, but rewarding heavy damage hits when you manage to land them. And last but not least, you have dual katanas. These are very fast attack, low damage, but you know that fast attack sort of lets you get little cuts and stabs in every now and then during enemy combos, so it can be very, very useful to just whittling the enemy down slightly. Now there are sets in this game as well when you're building up your character, which is quite cool. So there is these big hefty warrior sets. They tend to have things like damage reduction from ranged attacks and just flat out damage reduction. There is a really cool one that I found so far called the Samurai Hakama. These have counter flash damage increase on them by default by the looks of it, because I've got 2 of them. They both increase the counter flash damage. Really quite cool if you're running the standard samurai sword, because it does affect that ability that it has as well, where it just does counter flashes whenever you hit the ability button. So there is potentially builds here. There is also, like I just mentioned as well, there is sort of sets where if you have multiple of a certain set, it will give you a flat buff. So if you have like 2 of the set, you'll get X amount of damage or something like that. On my sword at the moment, if I'm wearing the Shinobi stealth suit, for example, I get a 25% crit damage increase. So there is definitely build variety in here. There's also pets, which is awesome. You get a dog, a cat, and a raven. These give you abilities at the very start of the game. I haven't seen them doing any damage or attacking, which is a little bit unfortunate. It would have been kind of nice to see your cat, you know, jumping in there with you or whatever. But it's quite nice. They look quite cool. The pet effects can be very, very useful. I've been running the cat at the moment because it has a chance to give me 10% dodge increase, which is quite cool. It literally just means that you dodge an attack that might have hit you. So that can be quite useful there to just mitigate damage entirely. There are rings as well. These are just flat bonuses. They'll give damage reduction, HP increases, posture increases. Posture is another gameplay feature that I forgot to mention a little bit earlier. So you have a certain amount of posture, so do your enemies. This is the stamina that I was sort of talking about. If you're sat there blocking the entire time, your stamina will get whittled down, and you'll end up in a position where you'll get stunned and then the enemy gets 3 attacks on you. So you want to make sure that you're being a lot more aggressive in this than you would in other games that are similar to this sort of style. You can also do the typical for what I've seen in mobile games, where for upgrading equipment, if you've got 3 of a single type, say 3 green or grey samurai katanas, you can stick them all together and it'll make you a green one or a blue samurai sword. There is also fusion as well, where if you've got bits and pieces that you're not really after, you can fuse I think it's up to 5 items together, and that will just give you a random equipment of a certain tier. So you might get a blue out of that or a green out of that if you put 5 greys. I believe the higher level equipment, so if you put greens in here instead of greys, you will get a higher chance of getting like a blue equipment out of it or another green. There is also forging, which is just adds even more complexity to your ability to do builds in this game. This allows you to change the random sub-options on your gear. So maybe you don't like that HP percent on your ring or something. You can change that so it re-rolls into potentially, I don't know, damage reduction by percentage, or reduced ranged damage reduction by a %, or increase your damage at or crit, etc, etc. It's really quite cool. It's very Diablo-esque in my opinion with that kind of role. You can even lock things on here, so if you want to keep something and you've got 3 of these options, and you go, oh, I really want to keep my top option because it's really good, you could just lock that one and only re-roll the other 2 options, so it's quite nice as well. Progress, however, I found pretty slow. I've been playing this for a little over a week and a half now. I've not managed to get past Chapter 2. It's a very difficult game, and like I said earlier, I suck at these games. But at the same time, gear drops are limited. They're quite rare. I normally get a gear drop from an enemy every other run. There are chests that you can purchase within the game, and they vary in cost. You can collect this green resource. That'll turn into either great chest resources or into magic chests as well, and they have the chance to obtain, you know, between normal and great gear and great and epic gear. The typical loot box sort of style. In-app purchases are here. They give you the green stuff. I don't even know what this stuff is called. It's just this green thing. Maybe it's like jade or something like that. And all this does is gives you the option to potentially get more equipment. So I guess to an extent it could speed up your gameplay. You could potentially, you know, get more epic gear quicker, and that makes the game easier because you're getting more damage out versus your enemies than you would if it's, you know, just grey or green or blue. So there is that. These furries from 99p all the way up to 99.99 sterling. Not sure what that is in US dollars, unfortunately, but that's quite a lot of money for any purchase, in my opinion, in a mobile app. They do have the typical, you know, special one-day purchase things where you get a bunch of items as well for X amount of money. There is training as well. This is another feature. As you level up, you can unlock training. You spend your currency, this gold, and it will just give you a flat boost. And this is prevalent throughout all levels, so it's definitely worth grabbing hold of. Defeating harder enemies also gives you mastery. Mastery is, again, flat bonuses to stuff. Again, these only drop once from one enemy that you've killed, so these are very limited. You can reset them though, and this allows you to, you know, maybe go in more into attack and aggression than HP and dodge. So there is that option as well. So to summarize, really simple mechanics in combat that will take a while to master, especially if you're a bit of a boomer like me. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Graphics are fantastic. Again, I really like this ink washed out style. Really cool and stylized. Audio, extremely good. It enhances the gameplay even further with better better feedback in your combat, and it just makes it feel that much more rewarding. Microtransactions aren't needed to progress. The progression's very, very slow though. So I'm guessing that's where the microtransactions will come in. But other than that, it's a pretty decent game. I've been enjoying it quite a lot. definitely worth a download and have a look at, especially with the potential of multiple different types of builds being able to come into the maybe later on in the game when you get a bit more gear, or which is definitely really cool and a selling point. So yeah, definitely worth a try. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if there's anything I've missed, drop a comment. It'd be interesting to see. Again, I haven't got particularly far in this game because I suck. Anyway, guys, hope you have a good one, and I'll catch you next time.